Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Let the filibustering begin.
Welcome to Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to Filibuster here on the Nerd Party Network. You can find us on Instagram at The Nerd Party, on Twitter at Join Nerd Party, and Facebook /The Nerd Party. We're also home to so many amazing podcasts. We've got a show we're also on called the A24 Project. We also have things like Owl Post, Missing Frames. You can dive into the back catalogue of Punch It, Nerd Nuptial, Retro Perspective, and we've got great shows like SETI Alpha 3, which will be a great show to keep track of when Star Trek Picard kicks off, and yeah, so plenty there. So in today's episode, we're going to bring you a first look at the Glasgow Film Festival 2020, and we're going to review the latest film from Robert Eggers, The Lighthouse. And joining me on this remote outpost is the Robert Pattinson to my Willem Dafoe, Dallas King. How are you, Dallas?
You goddamn farts. I can't stand your goddamn farts. Luckily, we're doing this in separate pub booths, so I can't smell them, but it's fine. I'm good, how are you?
Yes, that was a fantastic impression of Mark Wahlberg from The Departed there. Congratulations.
Hey, it's all Boston. It's Boston, mate. It's New England. It's, yeah, chowder. Yeah.
When I was in Boston, I was going to say last year in 2018, and I found it incredibly difficult not to just want to talk like I was in The Departed and call everyone a rat, and so many other things like that. So yeah, it's an incredibly amusing accent, but sadly none of them ever sounded like they do in the movies. It was a huge disappointment.
I know, it's like one of those stock phrases I always use if I want to try and attempt to do a Boston accent. It's like, hey ma, you parked the car too far from the bar.
I've got to give it to you. You do a fantastic impression.
At least I'm here for something. You do the editing, I do the puns and the impressions.
But firstly, in our chat for today, me, Dallas, and Kim will all be attending the Glasgow Film Festival next month. But we'll be sure to pick out our must-see films in the coming weeks. But Dallas, you've got a bit of an exclusive interview and discussion for us.
Absolutely. If everything goes to plan, by the miracle of editing, we are now going to go live to me from Glasgow, where I'm chatting to the festival co-directors Allison, Gardner and Allan Hunter as they have just launched the programme for this year's festival and talking about some of the highlights there. So over to you, Dallas. Allan, the festival programme has launched today. I guess, is this the point when it all sort of becomes real?
Yeah, in many respects it is, because up until now you're constantly having that moment of sort of meeting people and saying, wanting to say, oh, there's a film coming, and you're like, no, can't say that yet. Or somebody will say to you, oh, so and so, that'll be in the festival, won't it? And you're like, well, it might be, can't really say. So yeah, to get to this stage of unleashing it onto the world is quite nice. But it's all done, it's out there, you can talk about things, and hopefully people can start buying tickets as well, which is always a useful thing.
Absolutely, I guess, because you need an audience for these things.
Yeah, it tends to make a big difference.
You've got the Audience Award as well,
we do, yeah.
Which is the only one that you do. Yeah. Why did you choose to have the audience make the decision rather than, because you've got like Cannes and all that give out Lions and stuff like that, but
there are lots of awards in the world, and I'm not really sure that we need any more of them. So for us to be giving out lots of awards didn't really sort of make sense. So we'd always had that conversation. If there was an award, it would just be an audience prize, because that means a lot to filmmakers, and also because we've got really smart, intelligent, wonderful audiences. So yeah, we just wanted to have a prize decided by the audience. And yeah, they've chosen pretty well thus far, I'd say. And I can't see us maybe doing anything more than that, really.
No, and the audience has always been at the forefront of this festival. I've noticed, some festivals over in the south of France, whatever might be quite elitist, but you've always put the audience first in terms of what's available to them. The opening and closing night parties are open to anyone who buys a ticket for those, as opposed to being sort of black tie VIP onlys.
I mean, the idea is always that the festival is as accessible as possible, but hopefully by now there shouldn't be anybody that thinks of, that's really not for me, or I wouldn't get into that, or because that just seems anathema to what festivals should be about. I mean, they're about putting films in front of audiences, and also just letting audiences get to meet filmmakers or get to speak to them, or because we had opening night for Isle of Dogs, the Wes Anderson film, and one of the producers was here for that. And he said in a nice way it was very weird, because he had people coming up to him and sort of saying, I really liked the film, and how did you do that? And he said if it's a premiere elsewhere, he said you're in a VIP bit, or you're just talking to other producers or peers, and so actual real people being able to come up and speak to him seemed to be a charming novelty. So you don't want to put up any barriers, and audiences see you as well, and they see filmmakers around, and they know that within reasons of good behaviour they can come up and speak to people, and there's no barriers.
Yeah. And what do you think the role of a film festival is these days, in terms of, with the whole shift towards streaming and stuff like that? Are film festivals becoming more important for sort of smaller filmmakers and whatever, to have a chance to connect with these audiences, sort of?
I think so, because you sort of say that there's an amazing number of screens around, there's an amazing number of ways to consume films, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your choice is any any broader. And I think festivals are chances to just bring together lots of films that may just be coming into the country for this one time for this festival, so it may be your only chance to see them. Films that depending on the audience reaction, audience enthusiasm can carry a film out of a festival and into UK distribution, which has happened with some films. And it's strange that without getting too much into Brexit and all that kind of territory, but there does seem a mood abroad in the world of putting up boundaries and sort of narrowing of minds and inflating of prejudices and things like that. Whereas the great thing about a film festival is you're opening up where you are to the world. You're showing films from Kyrgyzstan and films from Sudan, and allowing people to maybe just for a moment walk in someone else's shoes, or just get a different perspective on the world. So it kind of feels that side of it, that's broadening what's available to people, making world cinema available on an equal footing with everything else, is maybe more valuable than it's ever been.
Absolutely. I'm presuming that you probably agree with Bong Joon-ho's statement that the goal was about the 1-inch barrier of subtitles. Once you get over that, you open yourself up to an incredible world of film.
Opens up to you,
rather than waiting 3 years for the US to remake it. Or
yes. There was a year that we had George Sluizer here, who directed The Vanishing, but also directed the American remake of The Vanishing. And somebody came up to him and sort of said, "Oh, I loved The Vanishing. It was a great film, and a terrible American remake." And he's like, "Yes, I made that as well," that kind of thing. But I don't know in terms of how many people saw each one, which one was actually seen more, which is the slightly crazy thing. But you want to encourage people to say, well, here's this great Icelandic film, because there's an Icelandic focus this year, and there's a number of really, really strikingly good films in that. And it's like they're quite a small country, so how are they doing that? Can we learn anything from that? So it's all about opening up the world.
Absolutely. And this year you've also got there's been a lot in the media as well about female filmmakers, especially with Oscars so male and all that sort of thing. And you've got the opening and
5 male nominees for Best Director. The opening and closing galas are both directed by women, and I kind of feel that it's not a bandwagon that we're jumping on, because we've always been really supportive of female filmmakers. Karen Gillan brought her directorial debut here. Lynn Ramsey's been here. We've supported Mae Miles Thomas's work. We've done retros of Ida Lupino and Elaine May and stuff like that. So it's just an ongoing part of that process that you're maybe slightly more aware of like, well, the patriarchy's ruled for a long time, so what can we do to support female filmmakers, but that are producing good work, so it's there on merit rather than any kind of box ticking that you're trying to do. So yeah, I think one of the great things this year is it will be the UK premiere of Mark Cousins' epic 14-hour documentary called Women Make Film, which kind of just tears up the rule book, or tears up what you've been brought up to regard as the orthodox history of movies. So, you learn about your Hitchcocks and your John Fords and your men and your men and your men. And Mark's film basically looks at the history of cinema and how certain techniques developed, how certain genres blossomed, how comedy's done, how shots are used, etc., exclusively through the work of female directors. And there's people there that you will know. I mean, there's Jane Campion films that are used, and filmmakers Lynn Ramsey that you do know. But lots of people that you're like, oh, I've never really heard of this director, and wow, her stuff's really good. So why is she not as well known as Ford or Hitchcock or whatever? So that's a bit of an eye opener. And he's got narration from Jane Fonda and Tilda Swinton and Tandy Newton and various other people. And that's showing with 5 films by female directors who may be less known to people. Dorothy Arzner, who was basically the only woman directing films in Hollywood in the 30s, is Merlin We Go to Hell. Jean Audrey's Olivia is a French director who deserves to be better known. Larissa Shepitko, who people may have seen The Ascent. Usman Halsey's Rue Casse-Negre, Sugar Cane Alley, and Jordan McLean-Silver's comedy Crossing Delancey. So these are all people that you kind of think deserve to be better known, and maybe we can broaden the pantheon to kind of take that on board.
Absolutely. And speaking of important women in film, we're now joined by Allison Gardner in a seamless segue down there to talk about her thoughts on the launch of the festival. And we've just been talking about the sort of opening and closing galas being directed by women, but you've also done something quite unique for a festival here, and that the closing day of the festival is on International Women's Day, and then so every single film that day is either going to be written, directed, or have a female focus. Is that correct? Yeah.
It seemed like the ideal opportunity, because obviously it landed on that day by serendipitous means, and so we thought, well, we've got all these great films by women, let's just maybe give it a little bit of a spotlight. The films that are directed by women, as Alan's probably said, are there on merit, not because they're directed by women. It always has to be the case. There's a really high quality. You just need to look a little bit deeper for great films by women. That's what you need to do. And it's our job, I think, to present those films to an audience for them to make up their own minds. Most audiences probably don't care if it's directed by a man or woman. They want to see a great film. And so maybe it just gives a little bit of a sort of spotlight, because on that last day there's women's story at the front and the fore.
Absolutely. And one other thing I really like about the festival, I've been coming for a number of years, is there's this whole thing about people sort of staying at home, watching films on streaming and stuff like that, and it's how do you get people back into enjoying that theatrical experience. And you've always put on really good event cinema. You've been at the forefront. You've got Secret Cinema down in London, but you've been doing it for a number of years now, where you've got that added sort of content and experience of going to see a film in a unique venue with sort of actors sometimes and doing that. What is it about that?
The pop-up stuff is great, and it's encouraged a younger audience, I think, to participate in the festival, which is really fantastic. But also the things that I really like this year, so for example, we've got Jazz on a Summer's Day, the 4K restoration on, but then after that at the Blue Arrow there's a jazz club, and people can go and mingle and hopefully talk about the film and say, gosh, I haven't seen this film since whenever it was released first in GFT. So I think the opportunities to talk to each other are as important as the films, and that's what we're trying to create as well. The secret location's always really popular, always very stressful in the health and safety front, as we pull in experts and they say no, don't do that. But it is really good. I like the idea this year we're doing Neo Glasgow, because it tied in nicely to our dystopian retrospective, which again is free in the morning, and so you can't go wrong with Train to Busan in a zombie apocalypse, so they'll feel slightly
I've-
current at times.
Too timely, perhaps.
I have already got my ticket booked for that.
Oh,
I love Korean cinema at the moment, so it's producing some of the best. So I'm very excited to see that in a unique venue. I'm presuming I'll have to avoid a zombie apocalypse to get to the screening,
I have no idea.
Yes,
they keep me out of the loop on those things. But no, we've got a really good team here. I mean, what Allan probably already said to you is all the films in here are loved or championed by somebody. That's that programming without prejudice. We really try hard to find something that we love and that we want to champion. And I think there's lots of things in there that we really want people to see, and we want people to take a chance and see something different. You know, really go out with your comfort zone, because your job as an audience, and that's why the Audience Award is so important, is to help these emerging filmmakers. If you want to see a breadth of voices on your screen, then the emerging filmmakers are really where it's at.
Absolutely. And I mean, people go to a film festival, and like this one is going to be across 12 days, but for people who don't really know, how long, when does the planning of a film festival start? Is it essentially you get maybe 2 days off after years, and
Alan sends me stuff. This is a good idea for 2021. I go, I
have a small file actually. It's 2021, let's not go there.
But we start pretty early, don't we?
Pretty much, because like the retrospective and the country focus and the special events are all the kind of things that are set quite early. So you start to think, well, where have we seen some interesting films for that's worth exploring more, like Iceland this year, or what would work in that morning retrospective slot. So it's in an old-fashioned sense, it's the painting the fourth bridge thing that, you know, as soon as you get to the one end, you go back to the beginning and start with a new tin of paint, really.
Yeah.
Although they don't paint the fourth bridge anymore.
Oh, do they not?
Well, we've got the new bridge, so
of course.
I think that lovely little way of explaining things probably isn't valid to a younger generation anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's ongoing all the time. And also just being aware, you're aware right now of what some people are shooting at the moment or about to shoot, and you're thinking, right, if they finish that by then with post-production, you know, Terence Davies is about to shoot a film about Siegfried Sassoon in the spring, so you're thinking, okay, if that with Jack Loudon, you're thinking that could work out quite nicely as long as it doesn't spend too long in post-production. So yeah, it's
you'll be dropping him a couple of emails just to make sure he's on track.
How's this going? Yes. You finished the first cut yet? So yeah, all those things kind of percolate away in people's minds.
Absolutely. And
all the time.
You know, whenever I'm at the festival, basically every single screening I go to, one of you seems to be there to introduce it and stuff like that.
Sorry.
But I mean,
we want people to know, A, it's a festival, that's really important, and B, that we have chosen, and also we've got our colleagues in programming, Chris and Ian, give them kudos as well, they do a brilliant job. They will introduce the films that they have chosen, so it's about having that ownership around what you've chosen, what you really like. You know, you want to get to the audience that you're passionate about this particular project, and that's the thing that's really, really good about it. And we want people to talk to us, because we want, you know, constructive criticism is not a bad thing. You know,
although praise is more welcome.
Yes, absolutely. I would rather have praise.
But equally, I mean, there's no point in choosing a whole lot of films that you're passionate about and then going to sit in an office somewhere and just letting them unfold, because like that just kind of makes no sense whatsoever. You want to be there, you want to communicate stuff, and you also want to see what kind of reaction it's getting. Yeah. Like, oh, this is going really well. People are laughing in the bit that you thought they would get a laugh, or deadly silent in the bit that you know works and stuff like that, or not working at all and you just leave.
I mean, I know that the two of you are so busy during the festival, but you do get a chance to enjoy it just by speaking to people.
I do enjoy it by speaking to people. I get a real buzz out of that. I mean, obviously I don't watch anything at all during the festival. Eating's always a bit more difficult, because I usually if I go to dinner with guests or whatever, I usually get the starter course, and then that's it, then run out again. But talking to the guests, I think the best guests here are always those people who are emerging filmmakers who are passionate about their work and really delighted that they've been nominated for the Audience Award, for example, or that they're in the festival, and they give the most back, I think, to the audience in terms of their Q&As, and it's nice to have people on the red carpet, but sometimes that's just a red carpet moment. It's not the same as having that, this is my baby, I made this film with love, and this is all the people that collaborated with me, and I hope you really like it. Those sort of things are really get the audience going.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done a couple of Q&As for the Edinburgh Film Festival, and I think it's this exactly what you're saying. It's the younger emerging filmmakers who are happy for the Q&A to run on and answer every single question and stuff like that. So it's always great to have that sort of buzz. And, you know, there's always a buzz around Glasgow at this time, and, you know, it's becoming a real sort of film city. You know, there was Fast and Furious was filmed here, Under the Skin. What was he? There's a rumour that the Batman might be coming.
They've started shooting in London.
Yeah, and then Screen Scotland wouldn't confirm because they couldn't, but
in theory, some shooting in Glasgow.
So there's potential for the film festival to be featured in Gotham, perhaps, if it's time.
Oh gosh, I hope not.
Catwoman.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could get into that outfit anymore after having 2 children. But I think it is a film, but it's not that the audiences in Glasgow go to the cinema more often. I don't know if it's the weather and it's very rainy, but they certainly go, in terms of the UK, they go to the cinema more often than any other audiences. So that's really good for us.
The filmmaking community supports the festival as well, because you'll see people that just quietly come in. You know, Peter Mullen's come in to see a film one morning or whatever, and you know they don't make a great big fuss about it. It's just like, there's a film I want to see. I'll come in. I'll buy a ticket.
What's his name? Richard Madden came last year, was it?
Yeah,
bought a ticket.
He came to his own film.
Yeah.
He was narrating a documentary, and he just decided to rock up, buy a ticket, and watch the film.
He came in with his dad, I think. You know, so that's great. That speaks about the quality of the programme. You know, and we want to allow people to enjoy the films, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Karen Gillan went to see films when she was here.
That's right.
She really wanted to see Lynn Ramsey's film, so once the lights went down, she snuck in the back and stuff like that.
So, one final question. I know you're not allowed to say, and I'm not going to give you a Sophie's choice of, you know, which film, you know, is the best in the festival, but if you did happen to get a day off during the festival and you could sit down and watch one of the films on, what would you watch?
I'm not sure what I would watch, because you've kind of seen.
Yeah, I might choose something that Ian and Chris have watched that I haven't watched, for example.
So there's
something in the future cult or something in Sound of Vision, because Ian. So the live event, the romantic comedy with the live score, I would go to that because I think that's a unique event as well. And I don't know anything about it because Ian curated that and has been working with Debbie, our festival manager, on making it all happen. So that would be an unknown for me, and that's how I want other people to come to the festival. So I wouldn't go and see something that I'd already chosen. I'd definitely go and see something that perhaps Ian and Chris or Allan had chosen, and just get surprised at a pinch that I was if I was forced to.
You'd be at the 80s.
Oh yes, I want to go to I want my MTV disco night.
Yeah. So if you got some time off, you'd be at that.
Yeah, in my spandex.
Busting some.
I think I'd enjoy that. It'd actually be songs that I'd actually know and listen to, because you get stuff like the Grammys this year and you go, I have no idea who any of these people are.
You don't know. I'm so far from there.
She's doing the new Bond song. Grammy winner.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, 18.
Oh, Billie Eilish. I do know that. My children. I have children, so I occasionally get thrown into these things.
I'm not sure. Partly, I might go to the surprise film, just because I quite like to see the reactions of people when it's either something that they expected that hasn't turned up, or something that they know nothing about, and you can hear that kind of, I don't know about this, and then they stay and they kind of captivated by something they hadn't expected to see, like the Kate Beckinsale, was it Love and Friendship?
Oh, Love and Friendship, that was hilarious.
There's a couple of people you see, she lost him.
God, somebody shouted
I was expecting Avenger or whatever. And then they kind of, they came out and said, I quite enjoyed that actually, that was quite funny and it was quite good, and I would never have gone to see that by choice. So I hate the
surprise films have been in my life, but I
keep
saying I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop it.
You love the challenge.
Yeah. I haven't got a surprise film yet, so.
Okay, there's an exclusive.
Yeah,
TBC.
It's still a surprise at this stage.
To us.
To us as well, yes. But it'll be alright on the night.
We hope so.
Well, I'm sure it'll be fantastic, whatever it is. Well, thank you for your time,
Thank
and good
you.
luck with the festival, and don't get too worn out.
Thank you, Dallas. So, Dallas, are you looking forward to another year at the Glasgow Film Festival?
I am. I always enjoy the Glasgow Film Festival. They always throw a good party on the opening night, and the only thing I've got confirmed booked at the moment is the opening gala with yourself, where we're going to watch Proxima, and then I've also got a ticket for Train to Busan underneath Glasgow Central Station, which should be quite interesting. But the programme is always is good. I love their sort of event cinema side of it, and they always, as much as I was part of the Edinburgh Festival, I always enjoy the Glasgow ones slightly more. I always think they've got more of a sort of grungier feel to it, a lot with the likes of Fright Fest and stuff like that. There's always something going on. As long as a beast from the east doesn't show its ugly head again after 2 years ago when it pretty much wiped out the festival.
Yeah, that was a hell of a one. I really enjoy Glasgow Film Festival, so I'm looking forward to kind of diving into the catalogue as always and seeing what films I'll be picking out to check out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to diving in a week or two time together where we can all pick out our favourite films. I think it could be another exciting year. Last year had some fantastic films, great experiences for both of us. You got the chance to interview Bo Burnham, which was amazing, and hopefully it'll be another exciting year. So yeah, I've got my fingers crossed. I think I've got a few films I'm expecting to be there, so I'm hoping they'll get announced. So I'm not going to jinx it.
No, I think A24 wise, it might be a slightly lighter schedule than last year, just due to the timing of things. But I'm pretty sure your highlighter will still be working very hard when you get the brochure.
I'm hoping for First Cow, so we'll wait and see on that front for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Although I may just have announced it in that thing. Who knows? Who knows what I said?
Exactly.
It's the magic of podcasting.
So this week, out on the 31st, at long last in the UK, after it feels like it's been out in America for months, and months since me and you were lucky enough to see it quite early at the London Film Festival, The Lighthouse will be coming to UK cinema. So Robert Eggers follows up The Witch with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson as lighthouse keepers stranded on a remote lighthouse outpost that go mad. So it's a fantastic premise, a fantastic cast, fantastic director. So Dallas, can you tell me about your first time seeing it, and how do you feel kind of months on before you got the chance to see it again?
Well, I mean, I think it was my most anticipated film of London Film Festival. It was the first film I saw at London Film Festival, and it was my favourite film of the festival by the time I left. I thought it was just a fantastic, fantastic piece of filmmaking. From the black and white cinematography, which has very earnestly and deservedly earned a Best Cinematography Oscar nomination and BAFTA nomination. The sound design was brilliant. I think the Robert Pattinson, I don't think has ever been better. Willem Dafoe is always good value, and when you cast Willem Dafoe in the movie, you know what you're going to get, and I think he's brilliant in this as well. And I just love I think in my review I almost likened it to the episode of The Simpsons where Mr. Burns and Homer Simpson get locked in a cabin in a snowfall and slowly go mad and get a bit of cabin fever. There's that kind of thing. It's just the battle of wills between the two, the sort of old salty sea dog and the young up-and-comer is just brilliant to watch. I think the script is fantastic. The insults they throw at each other. Being able to see it a second time by getting the US Apple iTunes version of it, I was able to put the subtitles on to actually catch some of the dialogue second time round, and it's just a beautifully written script which is got some fantastic turns of phrase in it. But it certainly lived up to first viewing, and then on second viewing it's definitely going to be very high up there in my favourite films of 2020. What about yourself?
Well, yeah, it was my number one film of 2019, so yeah, hopefully there's a nice little parallel for us this year. I thought this was fantastic. I also, on repeat viewing, decided I would kind of venture into the subtitles. I really planned on it in the past few days of watching the film again, but with the audio commentary from Robert Eggers, so I really need to get onto that as well. But yeah, it stood up again on repeat viewing. I remembered sort of when I kind of watched again the second time, I was wavering if it was the first or second best film of 2019, but it was between that and Uncut Gems for me. But the repeat viewing just in time solidified that it was the best film, because for me personally, it was the way it felt like an absolute true vision of someone. And, you know, as incredible as Uncut Gems is, you know, you could imagine another variation perhaps of that film that someone else could do. Certainly wouldn't be as good, certainly wouldn't perhaps be as well acted, but there could be another version of that film out there that someone else could do. Whereas I couldn't imagine The Lighthouse done, you know, by anyone else, or anything that would even come close to matching how original this was. I just genuinely thought it was an incredible performance, and there's just so much to mine from it. It's an absolute beautiful script, and I just would love to have some sort of like art book to really go into sort of the production design and elements. I think it was fantastic.
I mean, what you're saying there about a filmmaker's vision is absolutely on the nose. I mean, this is a man who, when he couldn't find the right location and the right lighthouse, he decided to build his own. You know, he built the houses that they live in, the shed, and the lighthouse. You know, I'm not sure if it's still there for, you know, film fans to go and see, but, you know, he had everything the way he wanted it. You know, apparently, you know, there was a bit of back and forth between the actors in that he wanted to rehearse quite heavily, you know, because the script is quite complex at times, but Robert Pattinson preferred maybe a bit more of a looser sort of freewheeling style. But again, that sort of clash of styles sort of almost added to the relationship between the two, because, you know, Willem Dafoe's character's been there, seen it all. You know, Pattinson's young up and coming guy, you know, he just is he's there for the money, you know, he's looking to escape something, you know, and as slowly but surely, you know, the walls start to come down between the two. And, you know, we get into what the reasons for why they're there. It's really quite an interesting and sort of complex performance from both of them, I thought.
You touched on it there. I think we've spoken about it a few times now, Robert Eggers. So I think it's time that we heard from Robert Eggers himself. We were lucky enough to spend a few minutes with him on the red carpet at the London Film Festival, at the UK and European premiere of The Lighthouse. So let's hear what Robert had to say about the making of the film.
It wasn't easy, but we knew that when we signed up for this. So it was challenging, and the scenes were really demanding, and the weather was terrible, so there wasn't a lot of like chumming around. But we liked and respected and cared for each other and supported each other and saw each other through. And Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, incredible, and they just bring so much to every day. And I mean, if I said to the guys, you have to cut your hands off for the scene, Willem would have complained a little, but they both would have done it, because it's my second movie and they're Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. They're not auditioning for me, but I didn't like who else is supposed to play those roles, so there was no question. And luckily they wanted to work with me before, so it was fast. Inspired by the past, I do a ton of research, and by trying to like stay locked in my study away with my head in the past, I think that sometimes people find what I'm doing to be unique, because like my influences are dead, long dead.
I'm from the northeast Scotland. I can say I can really sort of relate to Robert Pattinson's character and how he dealt with a certain person. I have to ask, how was it working with the seagull, and how did you draw such an amazing performance out of it?
Believe it or not, it was played by three classically trained British seagulls. There's three seagulls in the UK named Lady, Tramp, and Johnny, and they collectively played our seagull. I had every seagull in the movie, actually, aside from the flying ones, which were in Cape Forshue, where we shot. They knew that our crew was a film source, so food source, so they stuck around. But anyway, the seagulls were incredibly intelligent, incredibly well trained, incredibly easy to work with. They knew their stuff. They came in, they knocked it out. Great British actors.
I have to say that it'll play very well in Aberdeen. There'll be a huge cheer when the seagull gets his comeuppance. I can tell you that.
Okay, good. Robert, this is obviously your second film with A24. What's the collaboration like between you two to create such unique films?
They just leave me alone.
Easy as that?
Easy as that. The collaboration comes in to the marketing.
After obviously the success of The Witch, what ideas did you have in your head, and how long did it take to settle on The Lighthouse, or was this always the second film?
It wasn't a matter of settling. It took 5 years since The Witch premiered at Sundance, and I was working around the clock every day on various scripts and developing things, and this is just what got greenlit, my friend.
It's amazing to see that you've got the whole cast of The Witch here as well tonight. That must be really special as well. Has that bond kind of continued over the past 5 years? I know it's Black Phillip's missing, but everyone else is here.
Yeah, I love him. Not Black Phillip.
Of course.
He's a nightmare.
So that was Robert Eggers there. So what was it like for yourself? You ticked off Bo Burnham and then Robert Eggers' red carpet interviews. It's quite the double bill you've got there, Dallas.
It's not too shabby, is it? No, I think it was great, and leapt in the last second just before he was going to get dragged away. You've got one shot. I'm from Aberdeen. We have a major problem with seagulls in Aberdeen. I had to ask about one of the best supporting characters, possibly the best antagonist of the year, Steven Seagal, who torments Robert Pattinson in this. I just had to ask about what it was like to work with him, and he gives a great answer as well. But the Seagal, the way his performance in this is brilliant, and the way that the character spars with Pattinson and drives him to the lengths that he does. I think anyone who lives in a coastal city and has ever had a sausage roll or a sandwich or an ice cream stolen by a seagull will be pleasantly surprised and possibly a bit of an audible reaction when they see his comeuppance in this film.
Yeah, it really was something special. So we've touched on it before, sort of the Academy Awards, Grammys, all these sorts of things. They don't mean much, but they're always pleasant to kind of sometimes discuss and see films that you enjoy kind of get their rewards. So this was A24's solitary Academy Award nomination for cinematography. Do you feel, sort of with your projectionist eye, that was a warranted award?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd said on the previous podcast talking about 1917 that 1917 will win best cinematography, but more from a technical perspective. In terms of best looking films of the year, I think Lighthouse is probably the best shot film. In particular, I mean, just the way it's weird, we talked about The Witch, we reviewed it on a previous episode of the A24 project, and I always had it in my head on watching it that I was watching a black and white film. It's not, but it's just the way it was shot. I thought it was a black and white film, but this is definitely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, black and white, and I think it's a story which merits that type of cinematography. And also there's something about the look of the characters as well. Willem Dafoe, when he sort of stands up and does that huge sort of, basically hark Titan speech where he's sort of damning Robert Pattinson's character to the depths of the ocean and the depths of hell because he doesn't like his lobster. He has a face and a beard that is made for black and white, and I think they managed to catch every sort of crack and crevice in his face, and I think it is just some of the most gorgeous cinematography that I've seen in a while. It's a complete world away from the sort of black and white style of Noah Baumbach, say Francis Ha, for example. Everything about this film feels like it could have been made in like the 1890s or something like that. It is a period piece from the costuming, the sound design, everything about it, I think and it's for me one of the best looking and best shot films of the year.
So I think we've had a nice selection of interviews today. We've gone behind the scenes of the Glasgow Film Festival. We've spoken with Robert Eggers, and now we have an interview which we originally had earlier this week on the A24 project with the third character of, well, maybe four if you include the seagull, and that is Valeriia Valeriia Karaman, who plays the mermaid that you might have seen teased in the film. So there's no spoilers here, but it's always recommended that you perhaps see the film first before diving into this. So Valeriia takes us behind the scenes of her casting in the film, her experiences shooting it, the design of the unforgettable mermaid character. We have a good chat about shark vaginas and a lot more. So here's our interview with Valeriia. I'd read that Max Eggers, the co-writer of The Lighthouse, it was his wife that had suggested you for the role. How true is that?
Seen some of my works there. I was doing some short movies and music videos and blah blah blah. So when she saw my work and when she read the script, she was like, I know the mermaid. I know one girl and she's the perfect mermaid. So this is how it was casted. After I had a little conversation on Skype with Robert Eggers, we were good to go.
You obviously touched on, you sort of knew kind of Robert Eggers from his previous work, The Witch. Were you excited, nervous about potentially being in his next movie? And how much did you sort of know about the film sort of during the audition process?
During the audition process, I just knew that I'm gonna be the mermaid and that there are gonna be some naked scenes, not naked, but topless, and also I knew that it's gonna be a black and white film, 35mm film, and as I know from my job that when we are doing movies or music videos or whatever with original film, not digital, it's pretty hard, and you need to work on every second of the movie for few times, many times. You should do some rehearsals before, because it's not that easy when you use digitals and you have your memory sticks and stuff like this. So this is what I know, what I knew. And also I knew that Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson are going to be in this movie. And yeah, of course, when I knew that Willem Dafoe is going to be there, I was I just lost my mind. I was William, I love him so much since my childhood. He's so amazing. So yeah, I was pretty excited. I was very, very excited.
How did they sort of prepare you in the audition process? What was that kind of like? Was it sort of mostly focused perhaps on the modelling side? How did Robert Eggers sort of craft the audition process for this role?
So they just contacted my agency in London, and my booker, she asked me if she can give my Skype to the movie director. I was like, yeah, sure, here is my Skype. And she was like, yeah, okay, so they're gonna call you. And he called me, and it was a friendly conversation, nothing really special or something that could scare me or something like this. No, it was very cool, very easy going, and yeah, and I think we had the connection from the first sight, which helped us a lot during the film process and everything,
What's it like when you get the phone call that it's going to be you that gets this? You're the third person in this 3 person cast, and you're getting this amazing role. What's it like when you get that call, that message?
I was happy. It was cool, fine, but when you're working for less than years with a lot of big fashion designers and stuff like this, and when you act for big music bands, you're not so excited anymore. You're just cool job, nice, I deserve this, nice.
So between the audition and the start of the film, how much time was spent preparing and developing the look for your character?
So as I remember, I was in Milan, and my agency, they called me and they asked me if I can go to Paris right now. They were like, you have your flight in a couple of hours. And I'm like, oh, so I need to go to the airport right now. They were like, yes, you need to go to Paris, and then you're gonna meet guys from Canada who are doing prosthetics from prosthetic studio. And so I met those guys in Paris, and they measured me, they put some stuff on me. It was clay. Yeah, they put a clay on me to get a shape of my body, to be able to do the tail, which was made of silicone. The weight of this tail was around 30 kilos, I think. And also, and also these guys, they were telling me about they're gonna do some gills for me, and I gonna look, and I'm not, and they told me that it's not a story about Pretty Little Mermaid. I'm not gonna be anything like Pretty Little Mermaid from Disney. It's gonna be more like an evil mermaid and like scary, creepy, and blah blah blah. And I was like, yes, that is kind of style I like, which is cool. And yeah, this is how it was. And then I had another fitting for like my tail in. Let me think. It was somewhere in Canada, but it was not in Halifax. We were filming in Halifax and Yarmouth. And before this, I was. I'm traveling so much that I don't even remember where was the fitting. But it was in Canada before the movie started. Like before the filming process started. And yes, and I was at their studio, and it took us a couple more days to make it perfect, to finish everything completely. And after this couple of days, all the team, like me and the guys who are doing prosthetics, all of us, we went together to Yarmouth.
What did you think the first time you saw yourself in sort of this completed mermaid costume and makeup? What was that moment like?
I was like, oh yeah, that looks so realistic that it's even like creepy to see myself in the mirror like this. But it was also funny. You know which part was the hardest for me? That once you put this tail on, which took us, I think, like 5 hours to get in the tail, because they needed to glue everything. Also, I have a lot of tattoos, so they needed to cover all my tattoos and blah blah blah, to put the gills and to color my body like a fish, sort of. So it took us like 5 hours to get in the tail, and after this, you obviously cannot use the toilet. You cannot drink so much, obviously, and that's a little bit harsh, but it's fine.
One thing, when you kind of mentioned the word sort of funny there, I was kind of drawn back to an interview with Robert Pattinson where there's so much been written and discussed about this mermaid vagina that this costume had. I know Patterson himself described it as quite funny. What was
it was funny.
What was your take on this vagina for this mermaid? You know, I think there's like it's become something that's been memed, been talked about, articles about dissecting it. Everyone seems to have a take or thought on this mermaid vagina.
Actually, it was very funny. I was like wondering before, like when I just read the script, I was wondering how's it gonna look like sex between Rob and the mermaid, the human and the mermaid. How's it gonna be? She has a tail. And then when I saw it for the first time, I was like, what is this, guys? And they were like, actually, it's vagina of a white shark. It's a copy of a white shark's vagina. And like it was like super funny. And also some girl from the production, she told me something like, do you know that male sharks, they actually have not only one penis but 2 or 3, something like this? And I was like, oh really? Oh, interesting. And when we were filming the scene with this, and we had a lot of jokes about it, like some a little bit sexual jokes with Pattinson, and I was telling him something like, okay man, chill, because, you know, anyways, male sharks, they have few dicks, which helps them, so la la la. And yeah, it was like super funny. It was really really something, and everyone was super excited about it, and it was funny moments to film it. And I'm really sorry because some of the parts that we filmed, they cut it off the film. They didn't put it in, but at least I have it in my memory, and it's really funny. Yeah.
What did Robert Eggers tell you about sort of the mermaid character? You know, there's been a lot of discussion about it. What kind of direction were you given from him?
Actually, directions at all. I mean, like, when we were talking with him, we were just talking about some random stuff, like about music, movies, art, and stuff like this. And when I was asking him, like, what do I need to do, he's like, just be the evil mermaid. You can do this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can do this. Thank you. So it was easy.
With like what was your first day on set like, and what was the experience like? You were saying with when you get into the full costume, you can't go to the bathroom, you can't do this, you can't do that. What was it like the first day sort of on the job in this role?
The first day I found out, the first day of my scene was a very nice day actually. It was like very cold and we were shooting on the shore, on the rocks. It was probably -1 degree or something like this. It was like very cold, but I was like half naked. And they put me on the rocks and I had an ocean with waves behind me. But and also was funny because like Robert Pattinson, he asked me like, man, how can you do this? It's so fucking cold and I have my jacket and I'm so cold and you don't have any jacket, you're almost naked and you're not even shivering. And I was like, man, years of practice, with modeling. When it's winter you need to shoot the collection for summer, and when it's summer you need to shoot the collection for winter, so it's not a big deal for me to lay down on the rocks when it's winter. But it was very nice because I found out that I've never really communicated with this kind of Hollywood stars, so I didn't know what kind of people they are. And I was very surprised that every time when we had some problems like camera broke and everyone is rushing to fix the camera, do some stuff, and Robert Pattinson, he was all the time saying like, give me some jacket, give me some blanket, look at this girl, she's so cold. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? She's so cold. And I was like, yes, sure. And I was like, thank you, man. He's like, yeah, of course. And that was very nice, cute. And I was super excited and I was very happy because movie director, he was super happy and everyone told me like, good job, did you see Robert Eggers? He was smiling all the time and we were like watching your scenes, and I was like, yeah, that's cool, that's why I'm here, to make everyone happy and satisfied with the filming process.
It looked like it was sort of a challenging environment to work on, but one that you seem to kind of find quite well. What was that kind of the set and environment kind of like in sort of that Nova Scotia area?
It was cool, it was amazing, like every day I was spending on the shore, even when we were not filming my scenes, I was there all the time. First of all, because I was like, I couldn't waste this chance, this possibility to see how the great actors are acting in front of the camera, right? And also because like that kind of, like, I can learn from them, and that's experience that you can have probably once in your life, sometimes even 0 times in your life. So I really enjoyed it. And no matter when it was like raining, it was so raining all the time, and it was some sort of storms sometimes and stuff like this, but I was there with everyone and we were really enjoying the process, and it was so interesting and so hardcore to film everything. And with all these scenes when William and Robert are like fighting and they have so much text to learn and blah 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 blah, it was so amazing to watch this that no one really paid attention that we were freezing, like no one paid attention that they are freezing, and that was very cool. That like, because our work was taking all our attention.
You mentioned sort of the excitement of working with Willem Dafoe. Did he live up to that expectations and excitement that you had kind of going in?
I was so surprised that he's such a nice person. He was such a nice person, like we know each other already, like he's my uncle or something. It was like so cool. And I became really good friends with one of the guys from the production, Jay Van Hoy, and with Brighton, who was assistant of Robert Pattinson. So we were like all the time hanging out, 3 of us. And every time when William was seeing us at one balcony or something like this, he was like all the time, you kids, you didn't call me, so I'm coming to you right now. And it was like super funny because like we had really interesting conversations, and I found a lot of new things about acting, about Hollywood, about theatrical classes and stuff like this, and and I very appreciate it.
Did you get much kind of downtime together, sort of offset? I can imagine it being quite a small and intimate crew.
Yeah, like we were going for a beer every weekends, and also we were in Canada, right? So once we went to one bar where we could throw the hammer? No, not hammer, but yes, axes. Yeah. We were throwing axes, and like we had that proper Canadian fun, and it was really cool. And yeah, I felt like in children camp, like summer camp, but for grown-ups. This is how it felt like.
One of the things, like one of the most memorable kind of scenes is this credible scene that brings together so much kind of visual imagery. You have Robert Pattinson masturbating to this mermaid piece of kind of wood. You've got the scenes of you two having an intimacy, octopus tentacles, the lighthouse as sort of a penis metaphor. What was that like to work on that scene? Did you kind of have in your head how it would all be visually edited together?
Yeah, it was edited together. We were filming some of these, couple of these scenes were filmed on the last day of the process. Some of them were filmed at the same day, but in the end, it was separated, and I didn't really know how they're gonna glue it together. So it was interesting. Sometimes we were doing something we were not even sure we're gonna use, or we were not even sure how we're gonna use it. So sometimes we were just doing something we don't know, we're like, okay, what we are doing right now, okay, let's just do it, and we will see. So it was like this.
What was Robert Pattinson like as a sort of scene partner and collaborator to kind of work on these kind of scenes together?
It was very cool and easy, but the moment when we had sex was a little bit difficult for me because he was laughing all the time when we were filming that, and I had to have that serious, scary face with curled eyes, with white eyes and stuff like this. And I was asking him please, can you shut up for a few minutes? And he was laughing all the time, but that helped us to relax, sort of, because anyways, it's kind of uncomfortable situation. We're also humans, even though we are actors. But yeah, it was cool. It was very easy. I'm very, very thankful to guys because William and Rob, they helped me a lot to feel secured and self-confident. Yeah, that was nice.
You have this brief scene as well underwater. Did you actually sort of shoot underwater yourself? And if so, did you have your sort of tail on? And what was that that challenge like?
Actually, this was the hardest part for me because I was learning with a professional scuba diver for 10 days or something like this. We were learning how to dive without anything, just me. I had to learn how to dive on 6 meters under the water. We had a training tank for professional sailors, for professional lifeguards, and blah blah blah. And yeah, it was pretty hard. And when I tried it for the first time with the tail, which was very heavy, I had to swim with the tail, and it was very cold because it wasn't really inside the building. It was kind of like a huge warehouse, but not very, I don't know. It was not very covered, let's say so. And I remember that when we were filming this scene, when I had to dive on 6 meters under the water, everyone was wearing their their winter coats and some very like heavy and warm jackets, and yeah, it was like a little bit hardcore to go through that. And even one day I got sick, and I was sick for a few days, like I got my flu because of these trainings and these scenes. But all the team, they were super nice. They were like sending me messages like, get well, how are you? And all the time someone was coming to me. Some people from the team, they were coming to me to check how I feel like. They were bringing me flowers and juices and fruits and stuff like this. It was very nice of them, and yeah, so we did it. Yeah.
How long did you sort of spend all together working on the Lighthouse?
I spent 6 weeks with the team, and I think they were filming this movie for 4 months or something like this. I'm not gonna lie because I don't remember exactly, but I spent six weeks with them. Yeah.
What was your kind of big memory, kind of when you look back on it? When you think about those 6 weeks? What was kind of the special moments for you?
One special moment was when me, Robert Eggers, William Dafoe, and Lou from the production, all of us, we went to the house of the guy who, I don't remember. I think this guy, he was making our lighthouse. Actually, he was building the lighthouse. So he invited us to go to his house that he had in the forest, and he made the dinner. His wife, she made the dinner, and his son, he was also there. And they have such a nice, perfect family. It was such a warm atmosphere there, and we were playing some games, and it was super funny because William Dafoe all the time, he was saying, "I'm gonna be in the team with Valeriia because she's a witch. She's gonna bring, I believe she's a witch. She's gonna bring me luck. So we're gonna win." And yes, we won all those games. And also in the evening, we made a fire outside, and we made this little fireplace, and we were sitting there drinking some beer and talking about, childhood and our friends, relationship with parents, and everything, like old friends. I think that's my favorite memory from the whole time.
When did you sort of see the finished film for the first time, and what was your reaction to it?
For the first time, I've seen this movie at Cannes Festival. I was in Germany, and when I knew that they're gonna show it at Cannes Festival, I was like, I think I'm going. And even though I lost some jobs in Germany, and I had a fight with my agency, because my modeling agencies, they were like, even my modeling agencies, they didn't want me to do this movie because they were like, okay, what is this? It's not some campaign, they're not paying so much money, and it's just a waste of time. And I was like, no, I love this movie director, I want to go. So it was the same when they were showing this movie at Cannes. I was like having a fight with my agency, and I was like, okay, I don't care, I'm just getting a ticket and I'm going there. I'm going to see my movie anyway. If you want me, if you don't want me, I'll go. So yes, I went there, and it was very nice to watch this movie. I was very excited, but I also felt so shy that moment when a lot of people, like photographers and some other people, they started to come and to ask some questions and can we take a picture, and I just ran away because I felt like, okay, I did this movie, I don't want to talk with anyone, I don't want these pictures and stuff, but it was very cool. But yeah, sometimes I'm such an introvert that it's hard for me. I love the filming process, but at Cannes Festival I felt a little bit weird.
Was it interesting to see the finished product where you've gone from this island where everything is in colour, you kind of see how it's all made? Was it what you expected when you saw it all brought together, this black and white, the ratio, how you were shot and edited together? What was that kind of like to see the finished product?
It was amazing. It was even better than I expected. The only moment which I was disappointed by, it was the moment where I'm like swimming under the water, because I was like, it's so short, and I was training for it so much, such a long time, and it's just like 2 seconds. Okay, but the rest of the movie, I love it. Like the whole movie, I really love, and I think it's so amazing. It's even better than I expected. It's so psychedelic, sort of. And I'm really happy that it's not a common horror movie. It's very unique. And it's not even horror, it's more like a psychological thriller or something like this. And you don't know if it's really evil or it's inside the heads, inside the mind of the guys, or it's just one guy, or you don't know what exactly is happening. And it's the most amazing about this movie.
That's one of the things I think your character has generated so much debate. Is it in the head? Is it sexual frustration? Is it the sea trying to lure him to his doom? What's it like to have a role like this where it's just like there's so much debate, so much discussion? You know, it's crazy to think you can now buy on like the A24 shop a bar of soap that is in the design of your mermaid. What is that kind of like for a job that's going to it's going to outlive all of us, really? People will be debating, finding this film, talking about your role, everything like that for years to come.
I don't know. I just really appreciate that I did it, and I also think that my role was small but important, because it gives these chills, and also it's beautiful, but it's not exactly sexual role, which directors are usually using when there are young actresses. I mean, I like that they made it really weird and scary and creepy and stuff like this. And yes, that was actually my dream, because I remember that once in the beginning of 2018, in the beginning of 2018, on the New Year's Eve, I made a wish that if this year I'm not gonna take a part in the horror movie as a main horror, as a main evil, I'm gonna die. So, the universe decided I'm not dying. The universe decided I need to be a main horror in the horror movie, which was cool. And yes, we'll see when it's gonna, how it's gonna resonate,
You talked about your modelling agencies and agents. They weren't keen on you doing this film, even going along to the premiere. Did they change their mind when they got to see the film and see the incredible reviews it was getting in America, the popularity, how much your character was being discussed, and then images of you were being circulated in articles and so on? Did they change their mind eventually on sort of this is a job?
They don't. They even haven't watched this movie. Fashion industry is not. Fashion industry is pretty cruel. It's not like movie industry at all. And when I started to work with people from movies, I realized that they're like real humans compared to fashion. And yeah, my agencies, they didn't even tell me like congratulations or something. They don't care, to be honest. Yeah.
And is that something that's quite different, where you kind of spoke about the Lighthouse as this sort of, you've got this family vibe, you look at these people like they're relatives, family, and the modelling industry. Would you like to work more perhaps in the future in that kind of film industry, or will it always kind of be modelling, that kind of creative side you might be more kind of attracted to?
No. I really love movies, and yeah, I'm planning to work more in the movie industry. And for the moment, I'm preparing my American visa. I'm planning to go to LA. Apparently, I found some agency. I mean, the agency found me that they're doing both fashion and TV, like commercials, TV series. They have a lot of castings for movies, so they invited me to LA, to come to LA, and yeah, we'll see where it's gonna bring me. But yes, I mean, like as I told you before, how Ali, she found me, because I was doing already some short movies, some movies of my friends, or some music videos. So I was really trying to get into this film industry because it has a lot of sense. It's not like no one's gonna remember who was on the cover of some magazine 2 months ago or 3 months ago. And it's like fashion is like fast food, and it has no meaning inside. It's just commercial. It's just like advertisements. It's just to make money and to make people buy something. Not so much art about it. At least I don't see so much art about it. I'm very realistic. And the movie is something that is gonna stay here even after I die. I'm gonna leave this earth, I'm gonna leave this planet, but I'm gonna leave a masterpiece after myself. Even if the Lighthouse is gonna be the only movie I will ever do in my life, and tomorrow I'm gonna be, like in a car crash and stuff like this, I'm pretty satisfied that I took a part in a masterpiece, and I think that this kind of movie, The Lighthouse, is gonna be an iconic movie like The Shining or, these kind of big movies.
How have things changed for you since the Lighthouse? I mean, it's still kind of rolling. It's about to begin sort of its European rollout in the coming days and weeks. How have things kind of changed for you? Has it shone a light on you in a way that you maybe didn't anticipate?
Actually, it didn't change so much. Like, it didn't change my life. It just changed my vision, like my mind, something inside myself. It changed my brain, it changed my soul and my heart, but it didn't affect my social life so much. But we will see. It's just the beginning, so probably it's gonna change something. But for the moment, I just started to get a lot of messages on Instagram and from fans of this movie, and actually I found out that a lot of people have a crush on mermaids. They have like a sort of fetish on mermaids, and sometimes like pretty creepy some letters of some people. But yeah,
I suppose it's now between you and Daryl Hannah for mermaid crushes for that group of people.
Yeah, but it's funny.
So there we go, a bucket load of interviews today. So thanks very much to Valeriia for joining us there and taking us behind the scenes on definitely one of the best films of the year. It's always fantastic to hear from actors like that have this like pivotal role in a film that have been overlooked a bit. I think everyone's talked about Dafoe and Pattinson, but this fantastic character and role has been a bit overlooked, and I'm glad that we were able to shine a little bit of a light on it.
Absolutely, the light, the magical light, we're shining it on, because she has very limited screen time, but she does make a huge impact and has a presence in this film, particularly in the second half. Is Pattinson, it's hinted at the beginning when he finds this little sort of mermaid thing, which I'm still amazed they haven't made actual sort of wooden or sort of porcelain versions of. I know that A24 have got the soap version, but I almost wouldn't want to use the soap. I'd want to keep it, and well, obviously given what Robert Pattinson uses it for as well, yeah, I don't know about rubbing it off, so to speak, but she was fantastic and sort of really sort of striking performance, and interested to see what's in the future for her as well.
So obviously we've watched this film twice. We watched it at the London Film Festival. We've both rewatched it again on digital. Will you be going to go see it in the cinema again when it comes out on the 31st?
No, absolutely. I think I will. I do want to see it again with an audience, because I think I always prefer to watch on the big screen, but this was I watched it on my home telly at home just to refamiliarize myself before sort of doing this podcast, and there was some nice things which I managed to pick up. There was something which I'd sort of heard on the first viewing and wanted to sort of re-listen to it, and at one point Pattinson's asking Dafoe what happened to his previous workman, and he said that the second he had basically gone mad. He believed there was an enchantment in the light and it had driven him insane, and I'd always wondered if that was maybe Dafoe hinting at that basically he was the one that had gone mad and he'd killed the previous lighthouse keeper and taken his role in taking the light. And it sort of hints that maybe Pattinson is going to go down this route in the film as well. Did you get that from the film? Did you catch that bit? Or
Yeah, I kind of did pick up on a little bit, but perhaps it'll be maybe for someone like me, it actually just takes a third viewing to really sit with that moment. So yeah, I'm really excited to see it back again in the cinema. So I caught the digital copy again in sort of December. So I feel like I'm nicely at the stage now where I'm desperate to see it back again in the cinema, and hopefully a nice busy audience too.
I know, yeah, I think it will. I think it's the type of film which it might initially seem like it's got limited appeal, but I think the people that go and see it will really enjoy it. And I know I will be pushing it in Aberdeen from the seagull aspect, but certainly I know from, Film House in Edinburgh, they had huge numbers for Uncut Gems recently. So I think if it's pushed the right way and marketed the right way, certainly it's interesting that Universal have got the distribution rights for the UK, and they are essentially marketing it as a horror, which is dangerous perhaps, because if you market something as a horror and then you realize it's a bit more of a almost supernatural thriller with really dark comic moments but no real out and out horrific things, some people may find themselves disappointed, but I think you cannot be disappointed with the central performances. It's a relationship which goes through many different things. Pattinson sees his Defoe as a boss, then a rival, then potential father figure, then someone who is standing in his way from gaining access to the mythical light. It's not clear if Defoe is just a wiki or if he's got some supernatural powers, because there's hints that he has gained some sort of supernatural power from the sea and stuff like this as well. It's, you're going to have a lot of theories coming out of this. There's Promethean theories, and there's, the sort of big Triton speech that Defoe gives. Actually, elements of that do sort of come true and whatever, but I actually found it more of a dark comedy than a sort of thriller or a horror almost. I thought it was very, very funny at times, and just a real sort of interesting character study of two men who are brought together and forced to go through, madness together almost.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a film that we can safely say we're highly recommending people to go along and see, considering we've seen it at the film festival, we've paid to see it on digital, and we're ready to kind of go back into the cinema and see it again.
Absolutely, just the final thing I would have to say to you on this is, should pale death with treble dread make the oceans cave our head, God who hears the surges roll, deign to save our suppliant soul.
You've done your homework.
I always do.
So on top of the Lighthouse coming up, there's also another A24 film that's really kind of caught people's attention in the past few weeks. So also out on Netflix on the 31st, so up against the Lighthouse for your attention, is Uncut Gems. So Dallas, you have recently rewatched this as well at the cinema. What was your reaction on the second viewing?
I enjoyed it even more on the second viewing. I loved it at the London Film Festival, but on initial viewing, I still had good time above Uncut Gems. On the second viewing of Uncut Gems, I have now placed Uncut Gems on top for the Safdie brothers. I thought it's an incredible piece of filmmaking, and I wanted to see it in the cinema again for the audience reactions. Now, I don't want to get into spoilers or anything like that for anyone who hasn't seen it, but you can attest to my physical and audible reaction at a particular moment at the end of the film. And this audience was exactly the same, even to the point where they were actually even more audible at a point where basically Adam Sandler's character is a man who likes a bet, and he's dug himself into a hole. He keeps, throughout the course of this film, he keeps digging himself in even to bigger and bigger holes. But even to the point when he finds a way to basically clear all of his debts, life can be good. Something just he won't let himself be happy, and he doubles down on everything to the point where the audience were screaming at the screen for him not to go ahead and place this big final bet. And I love films like that. I love films where people are so invested they are screaming at the screen, not in like that US sort of oh no he didn't, kind of just screaming at anything, but just particular moments. And that's what I loved about this particular screening. It was the audience reaction that other people felt the exact same way I do. That's that communal effect that cinema has. And there was so many other things about the film which I noticed second time round, which we can discuss. But what was it like for yourself? Because I know the Filmhouse, I think it was originally in Screen 3, but then got bumped up into Screen 1 because it was that popular. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true, and then it will remain there for the rest of the weekend,
Fantastic.
which was always quite baffling that a film that had been out since the 1st of January in terms of Jojo Rabbit was like the big kind of film that they'd put into Screen 1. I mean, I saw that this was going to be the one that would get people interested. So, I mean, the film was so popular, it had people were still coming in. They just skipped the adverts and went straight to the film because there was a delay in the screening of just getting started because of that demand. And that made me really happy that there's been such a positive buzz about this film. The fact that people have shown up, supported it, seen it, it puts to bed this myth that if you put something on Netflix, people won't bother to go along and see it in the cinema. It had such a diverse crowd there, people I couldn't imagine ever going to sort of see films at the Filmhouse. So it was a real treat to kind of get a good audience in, an audience that gasped at the right moment, laughed at the right time. It was a really great after evening kind of screening, and I really had such a fantastic time just keeping an eye on the audience for certain moments and certain beats. I enjoyed it as much on the second time. Obviously the impact on certain moments is slightly lessened because you kind of know they're coming or can expect it, and the outcomes are seen in these ones. But still, it was a fantastic film, and it will never top that opening night I saw it, with everything kind of aligning that way. But still a fantastic film, and I hope people will continue to find it on Netflix and hopefully support films like this when they come along to the cinema.
I know, because it's an odd one that sadly it did not get any Oscar nominations. There was a huge sort of buzz around the film. It was picking out loads of sort of critic awards. I saw in the week sort of coming up to the UK cinema release, it was getting 5-star reviews across the board. People were calling it, a panic attack of a film. Your heart's gonna, cave in if it's one of the most stressful, sweaty, nervous sort of film viewings I've ever been a part of, and I just loved that. And it's a shame that Adam Sandler didn't get his Oscar nomination, because now he's going to go back to Netflix and, as he threatened, probably make the worst comedy film he's ever made in his life as Revenge. But I just want people to see this film to realise that he can be a fantastic dramatic actor when he needs be. And like we were talking about Waves on the previous episode, this is a man who is not a nice guy. He cheats on his wife. He scams his friends. He loses money all over shop. But you can't help but be emotionally invested in his character. And that's what the Safdie brothers do so well. They did it with Good Time. Connie, Robert Pattinson's character, is not a nice guy, but he's kind of coming from a good place because he's trying to do it to help his brother. And you just go with every decision that they make. And I think it's fantastic. But one weird thing that I noticed on second viewing is how much the film reminded me of The Exorcist, of all things, in that both films start off with a scene of an excavation, and then you've basically got this stone that is dug up out of the ground, which then seems to possess Adam Sandler to the point where it's like when he first finds it, you can actually see his eyes shrink into his head. There's like a visual effect done where his eyes and it almost is like the opal takes a hold of him and will not let him go. And then it also then takes over KG, Kevin Garnett. And I was really impressed by Kevin Garnett in this film. He's a professional basketball player, retired, but, is playing himself, but does a fantastic job, to the point where I'm now a KG fan, and I've actually ordered off of eBay a Kevin Garnett Boston Celtics jersey, and that's a huge thing for me.
You're such a coward. I suggested that as a great idea a few weeks ago for you, and you're like, no, I'm a New York Knicks fan.
As a Knicks fan, I've been taken by the opal has got me. It's got a hold of me, and I can't let it go. Yeah, I'm a KG fan.
I feel like I've come up with this brilliant idea. I've come up with this brilliant idea. I want to be able to start this movement of people finding that jersey solely based on Uncut Gems. If you want it cheap A24 merch, eBay is your way to
Absolutely.
go.
Well, I've got mine now. They might go up in price now that everyone gets the same idea. I could maybe try and, I could do a Howard Ratner and try and claim it's a, Game 7 of Uncut Gems worn Kevin Garnett journey, and then try and sell it for more money, just like Howard Ratner would do. But I think it's one of those, it's like I say, stressful but rewarding screenings I think I've ever been a part of, and I cannot wait to watch it again. One thing I got on second viewing again was just how good Daniel Lopatin's score is. It's kind of got Vangelis in it. It's slightly Blade Runner-y, it's slightly futuristic, but it's like that final half hour is just some of the best cinema you're going to see all year. And I know not everyone will get to watch it in a cinema, and it may potentially lose something by maybe watching it on your own on Netflix, but please do see it. I mean, it's definitely up there. It's a 1-2. I mean, these two films we're discussing, I think they were your two favourite films of last year because you saw them last year and you count it as that. For me, they're my current two top favourite films of this year. So, what more can we say? 5 stars, 5 gems all round, 5 gems.
So we've recommended, I think it's safe to say, The Lighthouse for people to go along and check out this week. But what else would you recommend people get along and see this week at the cinema? Maybe download, check out, read. What's your recommendation of the week?
Well, my recommendation for the week is not actually something you can watch, but something you could read. And this is actually Film Stories magazine. So this is I say new. It's been going for a year now. It started in December last year. It's a independent film magazine that sort of looks at the alternative side of films. So you won't ever see your Marvel films or your Star Wars films on the front cover. This is sort of looking at the sort of behind the scenes film making. It's looking at the people who are doing independent films. It's people who are working at studios, themes and trends which are happening in the world of filmmaking, and it's all done by film writers. Every film writer is paid. I was lucky enough to have an article about foreign language cinema in issue 6, but it's done by a guy called Simon Brew. He used to do Den of Geek. He now concentrates on the film story side of thing. He does a weekly podcast, which is very good. He sort of looks at the behind the scenes making of films, and he's been putting all his efforts into starting up this magazine from scratch, which is very, very difficult to do in a world where print magazines are almost on the way out. But he started sort of from scratch with a commitment to make sure that anyone who writes for the magazine is paid, and it's a really great magazine, always lots of interesting new takes, new writers that you can look to read. And so I recommend that. You can get monthly or quarterly or yearly subscriptions on the website, and we'll put the details in the usual tweet that we put out for this. So Film Stories magazine is my recommendation for the week. What about yourself?
Yeah, I've gone with a one night only screening of We Need to Talk About Kevin on Saturday the 1st at 5:55 at the Film House. So this was one of my favourite films to experience within the cinema. I remembered the state of absolute shock and horror that the audience was sat with at the end of it. And I would love people to kind of experience that within the cinema. I want them to go through the same dread I did. So it's really great to get an opportunity to see a film like this in the cinema. It's one you can tick off on your 52 films by women. Great, directed by Scotland's own Lynn Ramsey. It comes with a opening talk as well. So it's a really great way to kickstart the start of February as well. So I'm sure everyone will be glad that they're paid. So instead of maybe going out getting booze at the Spoons or something like that, I recommend people putting their money towards maybe seeing this at the Film House and supporting a great film, great director, and great cinema.
And it's on 35mm. I know that, so you're supporting projectionists as well. You're keeping projection alive by going to see it.
Absolutely. So we will be back again next week. So thanks very much to everyone for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.
Welcome to Nerd Party.